Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show this weekend. Hey, baby, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm excited because there's a lot of kids that got out of school this last week. So for the most part, I think everybody's out of school. There may be, a few people here and there that don't. But for the most part, it's summertime, unofficially.
Mm-hmm.
Officially, it's summertime later this month. But unofficially, it's summertime now. We got a couple of great quotes to get to. Oh, I also have a guest. I should probably mention that. I have Dr. Emran from SimpleHealth. We're going to be chatting about a program that he's doing where he's giving out free advice in like a podcast form. And here's the cool thing. What he does is he works in an emergency room, and he has a lot of the same things that keep happening over and over and over. So you'll see several people that come in with this issue. So he does a little recorded audio thing, and he types it up, so it's kind of like a blog as well, where he's saying, hey, if you ever have this issue, here's some things you can do. I'm like, wow, free medical advice? I'll take it. So Dr. Emran coming up later in the program with SimpleHealth. Also, our quote, every noble work is at first impossible, Thomas Carlyle. And Achilles says, from a small seed, a mighty trunk may grow. I agree. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
If you're a business owner trying to do your own website, maybe it's time to get help. Or if you don't even have a website, it's definitely time for help. It's 2018. This internet thing is here to stay. At 49bydesign.com, we offer a simple plan to get you online for just $49 a month with no setup fee. This includes a website with the hosting and domain name included in the price. We have larger packages available, but this will get you online so people can find you in 2018. We're affordable by design at 49bydesign.com. That's 49bydesign.com.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. We'll do the whole darn weekend. On Saturday, June the 2nd, is National Black Bear Day, National Rotisserie Chicken Day, which black bears probably would like. Also, National Bubba Day, National Rocky Road Day, National Bubble Day, and National Prairie Day. June the 3rd, Sunday, is National Chocolate Macaroon Day. We should have some chocolate macaroons. That sounds good. Also, National Repeat Day. Sunday is also National Repeat Day. It's also National Repeat.
That's enough.
Okay. It's National Egg Day Sunday and National Cancer Survivors Day. All of those things happening this weekend. Thanks for listening.
John and Heidi.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. That's 800-818-3967. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
John and Heidi.
Coming up, we've got your brain on drugs, but first, an inebriated festival goer in California found himself pitted against nature in a struggle for survival after he fell out of some bushes in the early hours of last Saturday morning, possibly while urinating. Nature called and then he fell. After falling, he called 911. The man was unhurt. Can you imagine how embarrassing that would be?
That'd be horrible.
Yeah. Waking up, not even knowing for sure where you are, not knowing how you got there. I guess that kind of sums up my weekend. Just kidding. All right. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We got a lot of great stuff to get to.
John and Heidi.
Each day at this time, we talk about people doing dumb things under the influence, but addiction is no laughing matter. If you or someone you know needs help, there's a toll-free number you can call.
1-800-438-0380.
That's the Addiction Hope and Helpline.
1-800-438-0380.
And this is your brain on drugs. Recently, a booze-craving brute flew into a rage and then brawled with another passenger aboard an American Airlines flight when a flight attendant refused to serve him alcohol. A news source reported a man named Jason Felix apparently downed a couple of brewskis when he started screaming at a flight attendant on a flight from St. Croix to Miami. One flight attendant told Felix that he would not bring him any more beer. Felix then allegedly spit blood at a passenger. That's not good. And told him he'd kill him. That's not good. The two men then exchanged punches. The unhinged flyer then locked himself in the restroom and then used homophobic slurs to yell at a worker trying to eject him. Felix was busted when the flight landed in Miami. He faces federal charges of interfering
bet
with
he
a flight
does.
crew. So, spitting blood, not good. Punching other passengers, not good. Using any sort of, whether it's a homophobic slur, any sort of demeaning words to talk to the people working there. None of these things are good. You do them all, you get to go to jail.
That's right.
And
Bye-bye.
this is what happens when your brain is on drugs.
John and Heidi.
Now, big screen, little screen. There's some folks that are super duper excited about this. Tom Cruise swerved back onto the highway to the danger zone as a star is getting ready for Top Gun 2.
No way.
Yeah.
Are they really?
No other cast besides Cruise has been announced yet, but he said yes when they said, hey, we're thinking about doing Top Gun 2. What do you think? He's like, I love it. So I wonder if he's going to be like an instructor now.
Probably.
Or maybe.
I sure hope he's not going to be the one trying to fly the plane and be the,
He's a new recruit. Just a little.
Yeah.
I graduated and didn't know what to do. I thought I'd, weigh my options. And here I am now, 50-something, and I want to join the Air Force. Probably not. Sesame Street creators filed a lawsuit against STX Entertainment. Now, have you seen Happy Time Murders? Have you seen the previews for this? It's a Melissa McCarthy. I thought we saw that together.
Oh, yeah.
It's Melissa
with
McCarthy
all the puppets in it. Yeah.
So it is a film for adults, but it has puppets similar to the Sesame Street looking puppets. They're like Muppets.
Right.
Henson puppets. Anyway, The Happy Time Murders is a rated R Melissa McCarthy film featuring naughty, foul-mouthed Henson-style puppets. And they say it's tarnishing the Sesame Street brand, so they are suing them.
I'm sorry.
So
I don't think that's probably going to go anywhere just because they're using them. I mean, if they didn't sue the people who made Ted, they had a puppet that was
They had a teddy bear, though.
awful.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show this weekend. This has been Big Screen, Little Screen.
John and Heidi.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-719-5601. 800-719-5601. That's 800-719-5601.
Now, your scoop of the day. According to a recent study, 23% of millennials are living with their mothers. So do you think that means the other 77% are living with their fathers? Or no? Just kidding, millennials. 23% of millennials living at home with mom. We actually have a son who is a millennial, and he is living at home with us. Mm-hmm. And he gets very upset when we call him a millennial. So, sorry. You're not a millennial. He does not like that. What is the deal with that? He got like really upset one time on Facebook.
Oh it was ridiculous.
There was somebody on Facebook that said something, and it turned
I
into
did.
Yeah, but it wasn't you that said it. Somebody else said something, and you commented on it. And
no, I shared it.
Oh, there we go. Anyway, fit of rage. It was not good. A new study found that the male brown widow spider prefers older females, despite the greater odds of being eaten after nookie. This is the male brown widow spider. So in the older female, when they're done, they'll just eat the male. They're done. They're like,
yeah, I
done.
knew that. I thought that was all of them. I didn't know it was just the older ones.
Just the older ones mainly. So I don't know. It's like a cougar, that'll eat you after. Anyway, Chick-fil-A is hiring hospitality professionals for $17 an hour in Sacramento. Owner-operator Eric Mason said it is important to him to offer his employees a livable wage and that he's looking for people trying to raise families. This story is national news because there's a company saying, hey, we're looking for people in what is typically referred to as a fast food business, and I don't know if that's what they really call it. Isn't it quick serve casual? I don't know what they call it. Anyway, but $17 an hour, that's a pretty good wage for that.
That is, yeah.
European Union proposed a ban on plastic products in an attempt to reduce pollution. So
that's nice.
That is, but here's the thing. Think about how many products we have just sitting here. That pen, that's plastic. This keyboard is plastic. This mouse is plastic. That thing over there, what is that? A USB? All that stuff, plastic. We use a lot of plastic. So I wonder if
they're talking about plastic food containers
that's
more
a whole different story.
Disposable.
Now, if it's like a plastic bottle or a plastic bag, those are different things. And I could see that way sooner than I could see, banning everything plastic. Authorities say the father of a boy who was dangling from the balcony. Remember that kid that was, and the other guy went up. This happened in Paris. A guy went up. We had him as our good news this week. Anyway,
scaled up the side of the building,
climbed
like
up
Spider-Man.
like Spider-Man. The father of the kid that was dangling. You know what he was doing while all this was going on?
I have no idea.
He was playing Pokemon Go.
Oh, wow.
So that's why the kid, because, everybody was talking about the guy that saved the little kid, but I wondered, too, what was going on? Why was the kid dangling? But there we go. Now the rest of the story is out. That's why. That's why the kid was dangling. Also, kind of sounds like Sears is dangling right now as well. They are not doing well. Closing another 72 stores, they announced this week. So that's kind of sad. Delta is rolling out new redesigned uniforms for their staff. So I wonder if they're going to go back to remember back in like the 60s and 70s, the ridiculous outfits they had everybody wearing on airplanes? Think they'll go back to something nostalgic like that? Probably not. A Texas officer responded to a noise complaint. When he arrived at the apartment complex, he found some teens having a barbecue, playing some music, and boxing in a parking lot. Now, I'm going to pause for just a second here. We had a Dear John letter. What was that? A week ago? 2 weeks ago? Where there was a story about somebody who saw... Now, she was saying in this letter that the kids were, 13, 14?
Oh, I don't know.
So, in the video, these kids are much older than that. They're 18, 19, 20. They're teenagers, but, they're 19 years, whatever, older. So, the officer, a longtime boxer, slipped on a set of gloves and went one round with one of the teens. And I watched the video. It was such a cool video. Did you see the video?
I did not.
Oh, it's such a cool video. The officer, still in his full uniform, still with his gun on his hip, still with his taser on the other side, straps on the gloves, and boxes a friendly boxing match with this teenager. And the two of them were having a blast. It was such a cool video. And it warms my heart to see good stories with police officers in the news. And this is such a great story where this guy could have showed up and yelled at the kids and told them to quit doing that. Instead, he got there and said, hey, guys, we had a noise complaint. Let's keep it down. What are you guys doing? You're boxing? You want to go around? I'll go around. And he
happened
boxed
to have
with them.
some?
I thought
He had
that
his
was...
gloves with
no,
him?
he put on their gloves.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think he was driving around patrolling with gloves on. But
Hoping that there was somebody boxing somewhere.
You should see in the video how many of the kids were filming this in the background. Everybody had their cameras out or their phones out. It was pretty cool. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. I've got a link to that, by the way, in our show notes at johnandheidishow.com.
John and Heidi.
Do you have ideas for t-shirt designs, but you don't have a clue how to print them? Or maybe you'd like to have t-shirts and coffee mugs available to buy online with your business logo printed on them. There's a website that makes it easy. We set ours up in about 10 minutes. There's no sign-up fee, no minimum orders, no monthly fees. It's just a really easy way to put some cool items online for sale, and you get paid every time somebody buys them. You don't have to print or ship anything. Just sign up, upload your designs, and then let people know where they can get your cool stuff. More details available at radiosavings.com. That's radiosavings.com.
John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We have on the line with us Dr. Mohammed Emran, and he is with a really cool thing called SimpleHealthRadio.com. He's got a podcast and also kind of a blog as well, because you can read along as you're listening to it. Dr. Emran, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on the show.
Now, I'm reading through the info here, and you're an emergency room doctor in Houston, and you've been doing this a while, haven't you?
Yes, sir. I've been practicing for almost 13 years, and I've worked in many hospitals across the country, but currently I'm based in Houston.
And what was it that made you decide it's time to do a podcast and kind of get some of this information out there?
Yes, sir. Well, what happens is a lot of times in the ER, we see the same types of issues and diseases and problems over and over again, and I found that a lot of the patients were asking the same questions. So I came up with the idea to create sort of a podcast more as a conversation of the same things I talk about with my patients. And a lot of the common topics, things like appendix infections, kidney stones, anemia, these are things that a lot of people come in on a daily basis for. I just try to break it down into a simpler way for them to understand, and that way they can read or listen to the show at a later time.
And the thing that's really neat, I've been listening through these as I was getting ready to visit with you, and a lot of the stuff that you're talking about are things that I know people who've dealt with this, or I personally have dealt with this. So I see there's a rotator cuff injury, one of the topics, strep throat and tonsillitis, and I learned a term, streptococcus. Am I saying it right?
Yes, sir, you're correct. Streptococcus is the medical term for strep throat. That's the actual bacteria, and I go through all the history of it, some of the medications that work, and even the surgery that some people need to have. And I'm always surprised, so many people are seen for strep throat, but not a lot of them know about the treatment options that are available. And so I was glad that I was able to explain some of that. That was actually my most popular show ever, and I got so much feedback from a lot of people who thanked me just for explaining what it was. After all these years of being treated over and over again, they never knew about some of these other treatments that were available.
Now, some of the other topics on here, I see stitches, sutures, and lacerations, CBC, complete blood count lab test, warts. There's another one that I know some folks that would probably be really interested in knowing more about that. Bacterial meningitis. The list goes on and on. How do you pick the topics for these now?
That's a good question. I keep it very simple. So whatever I see that day in the ER, I make some notes, and I kind of make a mental log of what I remember from that particular patient. So, for example, with the one with the warts, that was a child. He was a young boy, 6 years old. His hands and fingers were covered in warts. And I asked the mother, well, did you take him to a specialist or a dermatologist for treatment? And she said no. She thought they would go away. And I had to tell her the bad news that it's going to spread throughout the whole household. So that episode literally came 5 minutes after I left the examination room. I made some notes to myself, and I dictated that podcast while I was still at the clinic because I thought it was so important. I thought if this mother doesn't know about the contagiousness of warts, I'm not doing my job. I need to be able to explain that to other people because I'm sure there's a lot more out there as well.
Again, it's called Simple Health Radio, and we're visiting with the gentleman that does the Simple Health Radio podcast, and it's Dr. Emran. Now, this, again, is, I think, a great idea because there are so many people who have questions, and we go on the Internet looking for answers all the time. Sometimes we find people who are not doctors, who are giving all kinds of crazy ideas and say, oh, hey, if you do this, this is going to help. I trust you a lot more, being an emergency room doctor for 13 years. And do you ever see things online where you read it and just kind of shake your head and say, why would somebody listen to this advice off the Internet like that?
Absolutely. It's funny that you mentioned that. I call it Dr. Google because a lot of patients will come in to the emergency room with a printout or their iPhone with their own diagnosis. So they will tell me that they have cancer of the throat and it's metastatic and they need to be admitted for chemotherapy, and we'll do a swab of their throat and it's positive for strep. So I give them the good news that it's a treatable infection, and then I give them the bad news that they got some bad advice online. And I always tell people, if you go to any of those Google or other websites, they do have information, but they're so broad. They have to cover every single possible diagnosis, and 9 times out of 10, it's never the worst-case scenario. It's always something so simple. So it's good to read online and to learn information. And at the end of every episode of my podcast, I always link 2 or 3 references to reputable websites like the CDC, which is the Centers for Disease Control, Harvard Medical School, Johns Hopkins, Health. So a lot of national sort of respected institutions are out there, and I think those provide a lot of information that's much beneficial than just Googling directly.
And think about this. When you go on to Google anything, you find all kinds of stuff in other fields that, some of it's right, some of it's wrong. So don't believe everything you read on the Internet, and always look at the source of where it's coming from. One of the things that I thought was interesting, we just read a story not too long ago about a lady in Nebraska who had a runny nose for, I don't know if it was a year or 2 years, but a runny nose for a long, long time. And they found out that it was her brain losing fluids, and she literally was like having brain fluid fall out of her nose. Think about how many people heard that story and then instantly thought, oh no, my brain is leaking. So just because something like that happened to one person doesn't mean it's going to happen to everybody, right?
Absolutely. And I remember that case very well. It was in the news recently, and she had a very unique presentation, and I think that's why she survived for so long, because most people, if they have any kind of drainage from the brain, they're going to be very sick. So she must have a very strong immune system. But again, by and large, 99% of the people who come in to me probably have a sinus infection. I don't think it's going to be fluids leaking from the brain directly.
And again, the podcast is called Simple Health Radio, and the website, simplehealthradio.com. Now, where can I listen to the podcast? I'm on the website. I know I can click right on here and see it, but can I get this also through iTunes and other podcast platforms?
Absolutely. This is a free podcast. I don't charge anyone for any listening or subscribing. iTunes is the easiest way. It's also available on the Google Play and Android sources as well. We do have social media, so you can go to Twitter and just Google Simple Health Radio or search for Simple Health Radio. We have Facebook with the same hashtag, as well as Instagram. There is a way for people to connect with me. They can email me questions if they have. The best way is to go online to social media, send me a message about a general question. I can't respond directly because that creates some conflicts of interest for us, but I will address your question on the next episode, and then hopefully other people will also get a lot of information out of that.
I also like right on each episode that I've had a chance to look at, there's a disclaimer on there saying that if you're having an issue, reach out to your local your emergency room or 911. So I love the fact that you're being responsible. You're not saying, oh, hey, my podcast is going to cure everything. No, but you're going to give me a lot of information, and it's the correct information. So I certainly appreciate that you're doing that.
Absolutely. And, this is more of a service. I don't charge for any of the services that I provide to the podcast. I'm not selling anything. I don't have any vitamins or procedures that I'm trying to force onto anyone. Literally, these are just common conditions that I happen to see each day, and I really just wanted to be sure that other people had a way of connecting with that. And this is a national podcast, international, in fact. There are people overseas that also do listen to my show, and they do submit questions to us. And so I'm hoping that the podcast will go from a weekly show to a twice or even 3 times a week, depending on feedback.
Now, I'm looking at, again, some of the information in here. I see one for urinary tract infections. I know that's another thing that's more and more common these days, too, isn't it?
Absolutely. And some things are embarrassing to talk about. Like, you wouldn't talk about a urinary infection with your supervisor. You wouldn't talk about it at someone's, wedding reception, but it's a problem. And so people, again, they try over-the-counter remedies. They try things that they've heard of. But the best thing is always to talk with a doctor or any other professional about what needs to be done, get a simple test done, and get the medication. Urinary infections are becoming more common because of the work that we do. A lot of people hold their urine, or they can't get to a restroom, or they use a public restroom that may not be clean. And so it's a problem for people who want to be productive and work and not look like they're taking time off. But at the same time, you have to focus on your health. It's always best to treat your body with respect, take your medications, and your body will certainly thank you for that.
Well, and we thank you for taking some time to visit with us today. Again, I think it's a really neat idea that you're doing this, and I also love the fact that, like you said, you're very transparent. You're saying, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not asking you to pay for the podcast. This is just some information that I see as I'm working in the emergency room, and when I get done with a certain case and say, wow, I should let more people know, you go and do a podcast on it. So I think that's awesome. Thank you for doing that.
I appreciate that. Your feedback and your validation makes it all worthwhile. So I'm glad that we had a chance to discuss that today.
Again, if you'd like to listen to the podcast, there are right now several different versions. I'm looking through. It looks like there's about 15 episodes, and I see that you're adding more and more and more. So if you'd like to listen to the podcast, again, they're available through iTunes, through the Google Play as well. And you can also go right to the website, directly to the website, and that might be the easiest, simplehealthradio.com. And again, Dr. Emran has been our guest today. Dr. Emran, thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you for having me on, sir.
And again, simplehealthradio.com is the website, and we'll throw a link to that in our show notes at johnandheidishow.com. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.
John and Heidi.
In a world that constantly tells you you're not good enough,
12 easy ways to lose weight now.
It's easy to start believing that. I'm Amanda Johnson. I have a new perspective on the self-help genre. My book, Becoming Enough, A Heroine's Journey to the Already Perfect Self, will guide you to find your own happiness. Learn to block out the distractions of what the world thinks and learn to be happy with who you truly are. Becoming Enough. Available now on Amazon, or learn more at amandajohnson.tv.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
According to many language experts, the most difficult kind of phrase to create is a thing called a palindrome. It's a sentence or a group of words or whatever that read the same forward and backward. Here's a few. Red rum, sir, is murder. It's the same both ways. Ma is as selfless as I am. There's another one. Nurse, I spy gypsies. Run is another one. A man, a plan, a canal, Panama. That's kind of cool that's what it turned into. That's reads the same way, forward and backward. And because that's kind of what it was. And then also, he lived as a devil, E-H, question mark. And that all of these are called palindromes, and they read the same forwards and backwards. Race car is a palindrome, too. It's a word that you spell it the same way, forward and backwards. Right there. Fun fact, courtesy of LearnWithoutLoans.com.
John and Heidi.
If you're a business owner trying to do your own website, maybe it's time to get help. Or if you don't even have a website, it's definitely time for help. It's 2018. This internet thing is here to stay. At 49bydesign.com, we offer a simple plan to get you online for just $49 a month with no setup fee. This includes a website with the hosting and domain name included in the price. We have larger packages available, but this will get you online so people can find you in 2018. We're affordable by design at 49bydesign.com. That's 49bydesign.com.
John and Heidi.
Time now for the grandiloquent word of the day. Fudgel. What do you think fudgel means? F-U-D-G-E-L. Fudgel.
I don't know.
I'm actually pretty good at fudgeling. It's pretending to work when you're not actually doing anything. I mean,
yes, you are.
Just looking really busy. You're like, I have so much, I can't help with anything.
Yes,
I'm so, and then you look over at my screen and you're like, are you on Facebook? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I was doing. Used in a sentence. You need to stop fudgeling and get those TPS reports on my desk by 2 o'clock. That's a little throwback to Office Space. Fudgel, today's grandiloquent word.
John and Heidi.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-719-5601. 800-719-5601. That's 800-719-5601.
Now, some weird news for you this weekend. A Gainesville, Florida man who neighbors say is responsible for an outbreak of loose rabbits in the neighborhood has been fined by the city for a second time. There's a guy by the name of Von Aspen Reuter. He's 57. He owns about 25 rabbits, surpassing the city's 2-bunny limit. He's been fined by the Code Enforcement Department $521.50. In February, he unsuccessfully petitioned the city to establish a medical exception that would allow him to keep the rabbits. He said the rabbits help with his Tourette's syndrome and his PTSD from losing his leg more than 30 years ago in a rock climbing accident. He denies being the cause of the rabbit outbreak in the quiet community, though. He admits that some breeds may get loose. So he's like, yeah, some breed and some get loose, but that's not my fault. So here's what I would do, sir. Go somewhere where you can have your rabbits. I mean, don't stay there. If they don't want you and your rabbits and you want to stay with your rabbits, go somewhere else. That's what I would do, personally. Mm-hmm. But it's sad because, he got a fine. I wonder if he'll just keep getting fines. But if you'd like to read the story, it's in the Weird News section on today's show notes at johnandheidishow.com.
John and Heidi.
Now, your moment of duh. According to a charging document filed Wednesday in the district court, Anchorage, Alaska police rapidly solved a robbery when the suspect handed the teller a hold-up note, but on the back of the note was his name and his birth date.
Oh, wow.
Michelle Gail Nash reportedly entered the bank, handed the teller a hold-up note that said, "This is a hold-up. Please put the money they want in the bag. God help us." The hold-up note was written on the back of a form from an organization that provides affordable housing. His personal info was right on the form. Police arrived on the scene a few minutes after getting a call from the bank. Nash was actually standing outside the bank counting the money.
Oh, my
when
gosh.
Police arrived. An FBI spokesperson said, "This is probably the quickest apprehension in recent history, at least for a local Anchorage."
Just stand out front counting the money after you robbed a bank.
You rob a bank, you're standing out front counting it, and you're like, "Hey, I asked for all 50s and 100s.
Oh, my gosh.
You snuck some 5s in here."
Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, that's not the smartest bank robber we've ever heard of. But that's why it made today's moment of duh.
John and Heidi.
In a world that constantly tells you you're not good enough,
12 easy ways to lose weight now.
It's easy to start believing that. I'm Amanda Johnson. I have a new perspective on the self-help genre. My book, Becoming Enough, A Heroine's Journey to the Already Perfect Self, will guide you to find your own happiness. Learn to block out the distractions of what the world thinks and learn to be happy with who you truly are. Becoming Enough, available now on Amazon, or learn more at amandajohnson.tv.
John and Heidi.
Now, fake news or Florida. Heidi, tell me, am I making this up or did this really happen in the great state of Florida?
Okay.
A Florida man sought to bring down a hovering drone by firing 7 shots from a 9mm handgun. Fake news or Florida?
Florida.
That is a true story. According to police, a Florida man tried to shoot a drone down, not like a military drone, but like a neighbor flying a drone. 39-year-old Wilmer Yanes spotted a drone flying above his residence. Upon returning to the property, he said the drone dropped to within a few feet of the ground before shooting back up into the sky. He added that he waved his hands at the camera-equipped drone, indicating that he wanted the operator to fly away from his home. With the drone continuing to stalk his property, Yanes attempted to shoot it from the sky. Aiming at the drone with a 9mm firearm, the homeowner squeezed off 7 shots. Not a single round hit the drone, by the way.
Oh, my gosh.
It's not a good shot. Police determined the drone was being flown by a neighbor who was properly licensed by the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. An officer educated Yanes on the proper use of a handgun and told the homeowner that the shooting of a drone is not legal. So there you go. It's not.
But is it legal to have one flying over your home and just taking pictures of whatever they want?
I don't know.
See, that seems like an invasion of privacy to me.
If there was a drone flying over my home, I would not be thrilled either.
No.
So I think it is really sad if that is the case. It's probably the shooting of a drone is not legal. But I'm sure you could do something else.
Okay, so you could take a slingshot to it and knock it down and stomp
baseball
on it?
bat or
Well, a baseball is probably too high for.
Well, it was within feet of the ground. He said it was like hovering right down by him, and that's why he was having an issue.
And he still couldn't shoot it.
Apparently not. He's guy just maybe he's going to do some target practice. I don't know. This has been today's fake news or Florida.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always like to wrap things up around here with good news, and I think this is good news. Our good news comes your way courtesy of Odiva. That is a monthly subscription service just for the ladies. Now, I don't know if men could sign up for it. They probably could. Might not have use for the stuff in the box, though, guys. So if you'd like to know all about it, I have a link at radiosavings.com. Here's a great story of, first of all, it's a sad story, but it's a happy story. So this is watch officer surprise mother of fallen soldier with son's prized possession. So very sad that there's a fallen soldier involved in the story, because that is very, very sad, period. But I think it is so cool that the mother got this back. So take a listen. In 2015, Officer John Baggs went above and beyond the call of duty so he could surprise the mother of a fallen soldier with a special gift on Veterans Day. The gift was a car that once belonged to Army Specialist Jose Torre, who had died while serving in Iraq in 2011. After Jose passed away, his mother from Huntington Beach, California, had an emotional connection to the car because it always made her think of her son. When she got in a car accident that ended up totaling the vehicle, she was heartbroken to hear that the insurance company would not fix it. They said, we're not going to fix it.
Right.
It's totaled. Sorry. Baggs, who had been responsible for the collision, was moved by the woman's predicament. So with a little help from AAA, 27 different car repair employees, giving 120 hours of service, the officer managed to orchestrate a $15,000 repair in time to unveil the renovated car on Veterans Day.
Oh,
how cool is that? With all my heart, it means a lot to have it back. It really does, the mother said. It's nice to know that there are people in the world that have good hearts that are willing to pay it forward, she
Listen
added.
to your voice cracking.
Oh, it's just a great story. There's a video that goes with it. So if you need to get choked up this weekend, I'm just telling you, that kind of works for me all the time. I love the good news stories. Often it does that to me. It just kind of gets me choked up. So we've got a link to the good news story. It's at the very far bottom of the show notes. And you'll notice there's different sections. It's in the good news section of the show notes at johnandheidishow.com. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.